So we check 2, nothing. But again, as we said before, even if our opponent hits a trigger, we will still have that 21k column, and we're guaranteed to hit. Overlord helps you draw 2. Good, refresh your hand. We hit the heal trigger, so it's like the 4th heal trigger between these 2 turns. Hit that draw trigger. Great. Opponent hits that 5th heal trigger between these 2 turns. This is insane. So many heal triggers going off. How's it going, everyone? Entropy here today with another video. Today's video is going to be a tournament recap of my tournament experience on January 2nd. It is the Ghostblade $100 No Plot Armor Eradicator Bash, organized by Wolf Thunder Ranger 8. Of course, if you would like to see the entire event commentated by Wolf himself, Koragg, check out the link down in the description box below. This will be my perspective, and if you're interested in tuning in and seeing my commentary, my explanation, my perspective, and my approach to this tournament, stick around and we'll see more. So, how does this tournament work? Simple. 2 clans, best of 3, single elimination. If you lose with one of the 2 decks, you have to change to the other one, and you cannot go back to the other until the set is done. Think of it like an HP system. Each deck has 1 HP. Once it loses, it's out. You only have 1 last lifeline left, and that is your last deck. So this is quite different than your usual 2-deck format, and it was a really interesting take to the way 2-deck format works. In addition, there are 3 clans in this tournament that will be restricted. Gold Paladins, Royal Paladins, and Eradicators will be banned. Now, it is interesting that Eradicators itself is banned, but old Narukami stuff is fine. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. I don't have the old Narukami stuff, so that, just meant all Narukamis are banned. Overall, without the 3 top dogs of the meta, your Jewel Knights, your Eradicators, your Easels, your Liberators, all these little picks here and there, most of them are top tier, out of the window. The meta is really quite unsolved. It presents a lot of interesting matchups, a lot of interesting opportunities for different obscure decks to come out of the shadow and show their presence, and that is exactly what we see in the tournament. In addition, on January 1st, we just saw set 11 get released. So that is a very exciting time. A lot of people brought new decks, a lot of people brought some old decks, surprisingly, and both new and old had a chance to stand up against each other, and there were a lot of very fun fights. Not fun when your lifeline in the game, in the tournament, is on the line, but very fun and entertaining to watch nonetheless. So I guess without further ado, let's begin. So what was my thought process when picking clans? Well, personally, when I was playtesting, and of course you can check out my playtesting streams, I thought without Eradicators, without Jewel Knights, checking these control decks, these slower decks, and disabling them from being able to procure their plays, what will see the most play, or in this meta, in this void, is probably going to be Angel Feathers and OTT. Like, these are the 2 decks that I'm most afraid of as well. One of the clans I've least experiences with is Angel Feathers themselves. And so I wanted to play something that could beat them, primarily, and that could be a Aquaforce and Murakumo. So those were my initial picks. However, by the time set 11 came out and everyone saw me playing with the new stuff, I felt really strongly about Dauntless the End. I think it's a really great control deck that has sparks of aggression when it needs to, and it can defend itself and retire units, and can punish other players that really want to play aggressively as well. So out of those 2, out of the 2 clans, I decided to bring Aquaforce and Kagero. Now, I wasn't really sure if I should bring Transglory, which I was playtesting as well, or the original Maelstrom. However, during the tournament, when I could see, how it works, for round 1, I got a bye, so that's great. Works out for me, 1 less round, no less pressure, just a free win moving on. I was looking at what my potential competitors were playing, right? So 2 people are playing for the spot to play against me, and I was looking at the chat, I was looking at their clan picks, and I wanted to see, because yes, your clan pick is solidified, but nobody checks your list. The tournament did not ask you to submit a list, which is a pro, is that you have flexible options right before the tournament. The con is that nobody knows if you make any changes during the tournament. So that is just how it is. I saw my opponent, the person who won, I saw that they were playing Angels, and I saw that they were playing OTT. They discussed something about stacking. in the group chat. So I was like, you know, stacking, if it's probably gonna be Tsukiyomi. And honestly, in my opinion, Transglory, Dauntless the End, you know, both are pretty good. But I just have a really good experience using Maelstrom, you know, the old build. It's still good against these defensive clans. I think that the multi-attack option that Maelstrom presents is really good at countering them and can still grind out games before going into Glory to finish them off. So right before the match, I switched from that Transglory list into this Maelstrom Glory list. The last thing of consideration would be information. As we can see from my explanation of my deck choice, information is power. It's so influential and can really change the way the game goes. Now, when I went to Koragg's stream and Koragg mentioned me, I was like sweating because it is not good to get pointed out by anyone. I love the publicity, you know, I'm a content creator. I don't mind more subs. I don't mind more people checking out my videos. You know, I really love helping out people, but in a tournament setting, in a competitive setting, I do not want people to get more information about me. And if people actually went to search out my streams, they would know. They would know what decks I've been playtesting, what clans I've been playtesting. If they put 2 and 2 together, they know I'm playing Kagero and Aquaforce. They check out my playtesting stream, they know I'm playing set 11 stuff. It's already a lot more information that they know about me than I know about them. And they could play around with the matchups and the deck orders, right? So when he said he would feature me in the first round, that was really bad. And you might not understand, right? But this is if opposing competitors can check out what I've been playing, like they know exactly, of course they might not see my hand or whatever, but they know my playstyle. They can see which exact cards that I brought into the tournament. Later down the line, that's gonna punish me. That's gonna punish me really hard. So that was definitely one of the things that I really want to fight against, but got showcased nonetheless. It's a lot of pressure as well. As a content creator, like, I hope you all understand that I do misplay sometimes here and there, but just a lot of adrenaline, just a lot of pressure, and don't want to fail you guys. So I guess without further ado, let's go straight into round 1 versus Angel Feathers and OTT. So I guess without further ado, let's begin our first match of the day. As you can see, as we discussed previously with the Aquaforce deck change, it's literally happening in front of your eyes, going from Transglory into the Maelstrom list that I'm more comfortable with. Of course, I made some last minute changes to supplement the upcoming set release. I did include the 7+3 grade 1. I did include the Revon, last card Revon, as a tech slot. I think the grade 3 tech slot is a one-off, so you're rarely going to see it. This deck has 8 main ride targets. Of course, Glory isn't really a great ride target because it is Limit Break 5. So having fifth first ride, Maelstrom or the Revon is still great. Good cheap crit pressure. And you don't really need that mini filter when everything is really playable right now. So yeah, here we're riding the 6K. We have 2 other self damages on our hand, so there isn't really much to think about. The 7K can still be a 7+3 attacker. None of our units here can hit 10K organically, so the 7+3 is very nice. Polarize the 6K, plays the heal trigger searcher, so they will have 5 heal triggers in this list. Plays out the 7+3 to hit 13 key numbers. If they hit a trigger, which they do, they will be able to hit us no matter if we hit a trigger or not, which we don't. So positively, it means that they whiff the heal. So 4 out of 5 left to go. Let's see, we hit a draw trigger, which is great. Replenish, get a 10K grade 2, get the waifu here, and they get to draw 1, shuffle the heal back, and it's our turn. We draw the Basil. Considering what we do, we get the 10K. We need to search for grade 3 or else we're grade stuck. And we got that last card Revon. So it's the last grade 3 out of the top 5, I guess. Basil, do that multi-attack play, but protects the Basil. Basil can attack without the counterblast because our opponent doesn't have a grade 2. So this is still something common that I still see. People still counterblast intuitively. Don't need to if your opponent doesn't have counterblast, especially when Aquaforce is a very counterblast heavy deck with a lot of counterblast options like, you know, Glory or your Revons. So yeah, be careful with your counterblast. Here, luckily we hit a trigger. Our rear guard hits 9+3 on 3rd attack or more, so 12+5 hits 17. Put our opponent to 2 damage comfortably. balancing out the damage count. Opponent rise to 10k is a 10 to 10. Pretty standard, puts us to 3 hits the draw trigger, so that's pretty good for our opponent, not for us. But from what we see, we saw them drive checking a heal trigger first drive check. We saw them damage checking a heal trigger first damage check. So there are 2 heal triggers down, 3 to go. What will we do? I'm going for the Revon. I don't think that the Glory is the right ride. You know, you're not going to use the Glory right now. With Revon, all you need to commit is 1 self-damager and you're good to go. I have 2 PGs, so I'm considering if I should be playing more aggressively, calling out the grade 3. I'm not planning to ride it anytime soon anyways, so that's just how it is. Calls out the Strategic Commander, counterblast to ignore intercept. Another thing you can do with Basil is just ignore intercept. You don't really need to use that 4th attack enabler, especially here since we don't have any reason to go for 4th attack. Revon needs front row 3 units to be arrested, so that's exactly how it is. I prioritize the damage, I prioritize keeping that intercept over that 4th attack enabler, and turn, we're dealing 2 damage, we put our opponent to 5, we're still at 3. Opponents just on their first grade 3 turn, very comfortable aggression, exactly what we're looking for, exactly what I wanted to expect, bringing Aquaforce against Angel Feathers and OTT. Of course, one thing to consider is that the damage zone is our opponent's toolkit, but you know, you die when you're at 6, so that's just how the game works. Here, of course, ideally we would have went for Maelstrom, ideally we would have played for a more passive game, but against Angel Feathers, I guess, you know, that's just how the cards were dealt. We got our Revon, we made the best use of it. I'm checking what our opponent's list may be, considering what they put into the damage zone and traded, checking out my PG count, checking out my grade 2 count since, and my pieces counts. Opponent used the Helm, get the crit pressure in. We have 2 PGs, but they don't proc. Opponent did hit the heal, so draw trigger and then heal trigger, procs the PG, so we're being damage denied at 3. Note that opponent did see that original PG through the self-damager, so that is something that they can consider, just stalling the game out. But luckily, we do have that self-damager to enable us to get to Limit Break 4. Unfortunately, Revon does need Counterblast 1, so our opponent will be successfully damage denying us. Want to protect our grade 2s here, but maybe go for 5th damage, maybe borrow the damage so then we can check our own heal trigger. We can also hit numbers. If our opponent doesn't have PG, then that's game. I do think that our opponent does have one, but pulling that one out earlier is better than later. We return the damage back to 3 damage, and we have a chance to put triggers back, so we do put a Maelstrom back. Unfortunately, we did borrow a PG, and we didn't get to put that back, but that's just how it goes. Checking the draw trigger might be more valuable in this case anyways, since we are being self-damage denied, and eventually, you know, we have more chances, we have less chance to stick to 3 damage for 1 extra turn if we don't get damage denied anymore because we don't have any more PGs in our hand, and having an extra trigger in our deck is also always great. Opponent uses the search again, use no CL, gets that PG, yep, put PG back to hand, and then stall again. So this makes me really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. We know that our opponent has a PG. We know that our opponent's damage denying us. Our early game aggression might have bit us back. Opponent keeps hitting triggers. Trigger, draw trigger, crit trigger, heal trigger. It's just how it goes. I'm just like, every single turn, I'm just checking my trigger counts, checking the trigger counts. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Sees the Maelstrom. Again, this is useless though. This is useless. Just push. All right, we got to go for game. Maelstrom to rearguard, and then 2 hits to face. If this doesn't work, it's GG. So we know that our opponent has a PG. Do they have a second one? That's the question. Do they have a second one? If they do, then it's GG. If they don't, then it's GG. So yeah, so unfortunately our final turn failed. Our opponent hit 11 triggers. We hit 6, and we did draw into 3 of them. Our opponent only showed 1. So that's just how, you know, it rolls. Didn't expect them to have that many PGs. They played well though, they searched for it, they fetched for it, they did what they needed to do. Helm shows wonders. Helm shows what it needs to do, crit pressure. And honestly, it's straightforward. This is a straightforward Angels build with Helm, and it just does what it needs to do best and gets it done. Opponent has 2 clear shots 2 clear shots at our face, 1 rearguard to rearguard, and then 8 plus 6, 14 to our Vanguard, and then 23 guaranteed to hit past the trigger to our face. We can still 6 damage heal, by the way. Opponent showed all 5 heals. We still have 3. So if we check 1 on the 6 damage, we will still be good to go. Can we see the 6 damage? Can we see the 6 damage? Again, we have 3 left, and unfortunately, we don't. And that will be game. All right, so I guess given that first L, we lose our Aquaforce lifeline. So we're left with Kagero. Can Kagero carry, hard carry, and bring us 2 Ws back to back? Opponent won with Angel Feathers, so they gotta stick with it. We're going second, which is actually pretty good for a Kagero player, especially as you may know, Kagero doesn't really have that great of a draw engine. So going second means you get an extra card to play with, and definitely can help get your pieces and generate your game. So opponent rides a 7k, 7 plus 3, if you recognize from game 1. If you want to see more about this list, go check out my deck profile. It should be up and running. And so yeah, we do draw 2. We draw into that double blockade, double the end. Apologies. Rides the 7k, builds up that 12k column. I put the Kagero behind the Vanguard because, well, I don't see another grade 1. If I go striking into the end or striking into Dauntless, well, I'll have a 16k Vanguard with 2 crit. Opponent will probably be on grade 3 already. So that means if we do have a rear column hit, yes, it does help our rear column hit. If our opponent does hit a trigger though, that means that we have to hit a trigger or else we whiff a 2 crit attack. That's really unfortunate. So that's roughly why I want to put the Kagero behind the Vanguard. So I guarantee that the striking pseudo break ride skill does work 100% of the time, guaranteed to work. Here, opponent hits twice. Again, very aggressive plays with Angel Feathers. We did get to hit the heal trigger though. Draconic Overlord is on our side, representing the Draconic Overlord, the clan. Draw into Bellicosity. Going to strike in, we're going to damage deny. But considering playing the 10k, are we going to go attack face or attack rearguard? Let's go face. Let's go face. All right, let's go face. Put our opponent to 2. Sees the PG. This could be good. This could be bad. In general games, this is a good thing. But against Angel Feather, it means that they can tech out that 1 heal back to their hand. So generally, this is seen as a bad situation. Our opponent is going to break ride Ramiel. So that is something that we didn't see last game. Would be interesting. And goes for the Nociel, probably to pick up that PG. So you're trading Nociel for a PG, pretty standard. Also building that 15k column to combat that striking. Rearguard 10k hits 10k. Vanguard 11k hits 10k. And then 15k hits 10k. As long as neither of us hits triggers. So pretty solid. Opponent hits that heal trigger again. Wow, trigger after trigger. Another heal trigger, double heal trigger. 25 guaranteed to hit us even if we hit a heal trigger. 3 heal triggers in 1 turn. Pretty crazy. But yeah, again, 25 guaranteed to hit even if we hit a trigger. So we're down to 0. Really poor situation. The good thing is our opponent only has 4 cards in hand left. The bad thing is our opponent is still at 0, so we're 6 damage away from winning. So here, generally speaking, which one would you ride? Comment down below right now. Let me know. For here, I'm so tempted to go Dauntless and be greedy, but I'm going to just go for the end. Having that double crit to the face opportunity is just so good. Calling out the Dauntless, I do want to save the Bellicosity for later since we will be counterblasting 2 on this turn. And we do want to save our intercepts. So we check 2, nothing. But again, as we said before, even if our opponent hits a trigger, we will still have that 21k column, and we're guaranteed to hit. Overlord helps you draw 2. Good, refresh your hand. We hit the heal trigger, so it's like the 4th heal trigger between these 2 turns. Hit that draw trigger. Great. Opponent hits that 5th heal trigger between these 2 turns. This is insane. So many heal triggers going off. And even though we kept hitting face, we are back to 4 damage between the 2 of us. 1, 2, 3. Change the tide with that the end strike and play. And that is exactly why I want you to watch this. Sometimes you can't stick to the script. You have to be flexible. And that's something that Kagero needs. With Eradicators, most of the time you're going to go with Break Ride. You're going to go with we're going to go with Gauntlet, or you're going to go with Descendant, and then you win game. With Kagero, you can't afford that. You don't have that level of crit pressure. You don't have that level of consistency with the one-shot kills. So you have to consider, how do I do this, how do I do that, how do I set up my plays. That's so important. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people are struggling with, even though the deck is tier 1 when optimized. Even myself, I'm not playing this optimally. And that's a really big thing to consider. So our opponent deals some damage back here. Does not call out a grade 2, so they're basically baiting us to give them limit break 4. Break riding next turn. I'm okay with that. Well, I'm like, you know, opponent did do some weird shenanigans. Maybe I want to call out some rear guards. Get rid of our opponent's rear guards, make them commit more in order to generate an aggressive board next turn. Bellicosity attacks first to guarantee and flip, or should I risk it to get the heal? I'm checking my heal count. I think, you know what, maybe the heal is more worth it in this matchup. So we hit a trigger, our opponent hits a trigger, 2 draw triggers again. Wow, trigger fiesta. Flips with Bellicosity. The the Berserk Dragon wasn't going to hit the grade 3 anyway, so we're just going to ping the 7k, eliminating their boosters, hoping they can't really hit numbers against us. Of course, our opponent did show Helm last game, but we do have a Perfect Guard. Of course, this isn't the old one, so it would still put us to 5 if they do go crit to face. But if we put our opponent to 5, next turn we actually have that tech blockade, which you should have seen be very, very helpful at times. And that way we still have that 3 guaranteed hits to face, even if our opponent does have 2 intercepts. Of course, our opponent did add PGs to their hand, which is a detriment. But let's just see how it goes. Rear guard to rear guard, rear guard to rear guard, and Vanguard 26k 2 crit to our face. Very threatening, very threatening. So again here, unfortunately our PG doesn't proc unless our opponent hits a crit trigger. And let's see just what goes on. We see 1 PG go to the bottom of the deck. So that makes me confident that, you know, maybe they don't have 3. Probably they don't have 3. Do they have 3? But yeah, again, this is one of the situations where if they do have 3 PGs, it's GG. If they don't, then we win. Here, I'm like, you know, do I want to attack with the end and draw more, or do I go for blockade for game? You know, I'm like, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. Gotta go check out what I want. Call it the Bellicosity, 16k. It's not going to hit, so the unflip skill, on hit skill doesn't really matter anyways. Gonna go for Conroe, gonna search for a filter. The good thing about this filter is that, again, you don't need to rest it, so you can still use it as a booster on this turn. We drew into a PG, which is a nice safety net, definitely very nice. We have that Berserk Dragon, do we want to play it? We don't really care enough for it right now because we are going for game. And in addition, we did hit a heal trigger. We have 2 PGs, 1 intercept, which blocks 3 attacks. Opponent doesn't really seem to be shifting to Zerakiel anytime soon, since we do see a few in the damage, and so on and so forth. So unfortunately, our opponent did have that 3 PG, so they did block that turn, but we did hit that heal trigger that really helped us right there, give us some little breathing room. And yeah, opponent does call out the deck filter, Sariel, and probably gonna pick up, okay, getting rid of that 6+3, Helm, going for that, pick up that PG, get that crit pressure again. Of course, opponent's intercepts don't work because our Vanguard's blockade. Very nice. Rear guard to rear guard, rear guard to Vanguard, and then, oh, going for the Vanguard first. Gonna check if we have PG. All right, we do, so it's comfortable. Proc the old new PG. Our opponent here, whatever they do, doesn't really matter anymore. Opponent close to no more heal triggers, I believe. We can just go face, and then win game. Of course, if they do hit a heal trigger, we do need to hit 1 trigger ourselves as well in order to hit 21k numbers with either our Vanguard column or our Berserk Dragon column. Here, we're gonna, well, seal the deal anyways, so might as well retire. There's no much use of Counterblast anymore. So I think that's one of the last Sentinels, and then there. That's game. All right, so we survived game 2. Let's move on to game 3. Honestly, I felt that game 1, we didn't really get our ideal ride. We didn't really get that great luck with triggers, so it happens. Game 2, things went smoothly. We both got trigger checks, heal fiesta, draw fiesta, everything's going on right. Last game, Kagero versus OTT. We're going to get rid of the blockade because it isn't a really good ideal first ride anyways. We're going to see Tsukiyomi, and here I'm sweating. I'm like, you know, this might be rude, but please miss the ride chain. Please miss the ride chain. They missed the ride chain. I was like so happy, but they did ride the grade 1 from hand. Fortunate. let's check out our hand here. We have Dauntless, we have Kersey, we have Suisei, we have Berserk Dragon, the End, Kersey, and Gojo. So of course, as we explained in the deck profile, if we were going first, we do want to ride that Gojo, take advantage of it. If we were going second, might as well go ride the Kersey. What are we going to do here? Do we want to play aggressively? Not really. I was considering using the Gojo tap, but the Kersey in hand could come into play. Opponent shows a crit Tsukiyomi, and that's one of the things about these tournaments that surprises me, right? Generally speaking, a lot of these tournaments are open list formats. You show your list, you submit your list. But here, because we don't see lists, you get to do a lot of weird shenanigans, exactly like ranked. You don't know what to expect. And that is one of the fun parts. Opponent plays really aggressively, really consistent as the Angel Feather play. You know, there's always a grade 1 in the front row punching, and then there's always a big column in the Vanguard circle, in the Vanguard column, or Vanguard column, and then big rearguard column. Here, opponent deals 2 damage. Again, I wish that they would miss the ride chain, but they did have the grade 2 in hand. So yeah, we're gonna ride the strike in, damage deny. Don't really need the damage deny in this matchup, honestly, but the strike in into the end, you know, we just saw how big of a play it showed, and I just wanted to keep that momentum going. Conroe searching for the PG because I'm really afraid of that crit, the straight crits. And here I'm just gonna use Gojo to swing at a 7, use 10k to hit 10k, balancing out the damage, but also getting rid of our opponent's resources. Second Tsukiyomi crit back to back. I'm really scared right now. I'm really thankful that it is the Tsukiyomi in the damage zone, so there's 2 at most left in the deck. But still, crits again. I mean, of course, it has to be the same trigger for the same card, but still, scary, scary, scary. Opponent rides the Uriel, which is great, misride. Binding a unit though. What did they bind? Oh, they banned the Dauntless Drive, and that's okay. Don't have units. Again, because our opponent is showing 100% crit trigger lineup so far, I am comfortable with pushing out units in order to trade. And that is the case with the Gojo attacking the grade 1 Tsukiyomi. They have low cards and card advantage, especially when they miss the ride chain, and that's what I'm going to take advantage of. Going into the Dauntless, since it seems that our opponent is going to be playing slower now, put the booster so I guarantee that I hit. Don't want to take any chances. Again hits the trigger, again third Tsukiyomi, again third crit. So putting the booster was the right call since we didn't see a trigger, and put them to 5. So they see the draw trigger, they see a PG, so at most they have 3 PGs left. That makes me really comfortable with what I want to do next. Of course, they did see that draw trigger, and I do believe that their other units is heal trigger and draw trigger, so it's a mix between draws and heals and crits. Re-rides into Amaterasu, they have the 8 soul, they can use the Mega Blast and draw. They do know the bottom 15 as well because they missed the ride chain 3 times. Which sounds really rude, but that's just how it is, right? You gotta play to win. Halted the Silent Tom as a desperate attempt to survive. Goes for the Silent Tom, ideally, but they went for the Amaterasu. They didn't use boost. They also didn't allocate the power to the Amaterasu, which was a misplay, because they won't hit, they can't Mega Blast. They really need the card draw. They really need to desperately get their pieces, especially their PGs next turn, but that is just what happened, and very unfortunate here. I thought that, you know, using the blue eyes, not boosting, is because they don't want to filter through and don't want to miss the heal trigger, but who knows, who knows. Berserk Dragon, get rid of intercept, and we just go ham, go face it to place, go guarantee that second attack is going to pass because we're hitting a 21k column, see a PG, and we're really comfortable. Do they have a PG? Even if they do, they don't have much gas, and that will be game. So, welcome back, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the commentary and the fight and the knowledge and the approach so far. Hope it's entertaining. So, just a quick sneak peek into what is up next. There's still so many more exciting fights, a lot more stuff that I hope you all stay excited for. Next fight, we will be playing against B.Lumpkin Z. So why is this a big thing? Well, originally I thought that maybe we would have had a chance against our RMA, Ride My Avatar, another content creator. Fortunately, luck didn't really go well for him today, and so yeah, so we're gonna play against someone that beat another content creator. Again, a lot of pressure here. This is the 3rd round. B.Lumpkin Z has already beaten 2 players back to back, didn't get seeded, and so that is just how it goes. and I hope you all enjoy. If you like the video so far, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know down below which is your favorite part. Did you like the introduction more? Did you like the analytical part more? You know, the deck introductions, why I played this, why I played that. Did you like the insights on how to make the best use of the tournament structure? Or did you just really like the commentary or the fight itself? Let me know down below. I really appreciate it, and it could definitely help me rearrange how I want to edit the next few parts, since they are still a work in progress. And I will see you all soon for part 2 very, very soon. Bye.